What if I told you that you've been completely wrong about why you feel anxious, angry, or depressed? Not a little wrong, completely, totally wrong. You think it's because of what your boss said, what your ex did, what you don't have yet. But that's not at all. And once you see what's really going on, you'll wonder how you missed it your whole life. This one shift changes everything. You ready? Look, you and I both know you've tried everything. Positive thinking, gratitude journals, telling yourself it'll all work out, and you still feel powerless whenever life doesn't go your way. Here's why none of that worked. You've been treating the symptoms instead of the disease. The disease is what I call demandingness. It's this insane belief that life, other people, and you yourself must be a certain way. And as long as you hold on to those demands, you're going to suffer. Period. But here's the good news, and I mean really good news. Once you see how your own thinking is creating your misery, you can change it. Not through some mystical meditation or years of therapy. Through simple, rational questioning of the garbage your brain is feeding you. In the next 20-something minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to spot the irrational beliefs that are draining your power, how to challenge them like a lawyer cross-examining a lying witness, and how to replace them with flexible preferences that let you stay strong no matter what life throws at you. This isn't about becoming some emotionless robot. It's about having appropriate emotions instead of self-destructive ones. It's about being disappointed instead of devastated, concerned instead of panicked, annoyed instead of enraged. You're about to learn the mental technology that's helped millions of people take back control of their emotional lives. No more being a puppet to your circumstances. No more emotional hijackings. Just you, thinking clearly, feeling appropriately, and handling life like the capable person you actually are. So let me start by showing you the 3 demands that are absolutely destroying you right now. And I don't care who you are or what your situation is, you're making at least one of these demands, probably all 3. And they're stealing your power every single day. Your suffering comes from 3 types of irrational demands you're making on reality. These aren't preferences or wishes. They're absolute requirements that you treat as laws of the universe. And when reality breaks your laws, which it does constantly, you fall apart. The first demand is the demand on yourself. It goes like this: I absolutely must perform well and be approved by significant others, or else I'm an inadequate, worthless person. Do you hear how crazy that is? You've decided that your entire worth as a human being depends on outcomes you can't fully control. This is why criticism feels like death to you. Why mistakes feel catastrophic. Why rejection shatters you. Because you've tied your value as a person to whether or not you succeed or get approved. One bad performance review and you think you're garbage. One person doesn't like you and you question everything about yourself. You've given other people and random circumstances the power to determine if you're worthy of existing. That's insane. The second demand is the demand on others. It sounds like this: other people must treat me kindly, considerately, and fairly, or else they're terrible people who deserve to be condemned. You've decided that everyone around you has to follow your rules of conduct, and when they don't, they're horrible and you have every right to hate them. This is why you can't let go of grudges. Why you stay angry for days over small slights. Why you're constantly disappointed in people. Because you're demanding perfection from imperfect beings. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you want to destroy them. A friend forgets your birthday and they're dead to you. Your partner doesn't read your mind and suddenly they don't care about you. You're walking around with this ridiculous expectation that people must behave the way you want them to. And when they don't, which is constantly, you make yourself miserable. The third demand is the demand on life itself, on the universe. It goes, life must be easy, comfortable, and give me what I want quickly, or else it's awful and I can't stand it. You've decided that the universe owes you smooth sailing, and anything less is unbearable. This is why traffic makes you rage. Why waiting feels unbearable. Why setbacks feel like the end of the world. You're demanding that reality bend to your convenience. It's hot outside, and you act like you're being tortured. The internet is slow, and you lose your mind. Something takes longer than expected, and your whole day is ruined. You're fighting with reality itself, and reality always wins. Now imagine this. Imagine you're walking around with a rule book that says the universe must follow these rules. Rule number 1, everyone must like me. Rule number 2, everything must go smoothly. Rule number 3, I must never fail. Now imagine getting angry every time reality breaks one of your rules. That's what you're doing all day, every day. You're fighting with reality itself, and you're shocked that you keep losing. Now, you might be thinking, but Ellis, aren't some things actually terrible? Shouldn't I be upset when bad things happen? Great question. And the answer is going to surprise you. Because I'm not saying you should be happy when life goes wrong. I'm not saying you should pretend everything is fine when it's not. I'm saying something much more powerful than that. There's a massive difference between healthy negative emotions and unhealthy negative emotions. Healthy ones motivate you. Unhealthy ones paralyze you. And it all comes down to one word, must. Let me show you what I mean. Let's say you want a promotion at work. You've worked hard, you deserve it, you really want it. That's totally fine. That's a preference. Now watch what happens when you turn that preference into a demand. Preference. I really want this promotion, and I'll be disappointed if I don't get it. Demand. I must get this promotion, and if I don't, I'm a complete failure. See the difference? Same situation, same desire, totally different emotional outcome. One lets you feel bad appropriately and then move forward. The other destroys you. And here's what you need to understand. There are healthy negative emotions you should feel. You should feel disappointed when things go wrong. That's appropriate. You should feel concerned about future challenges. That's smart. You should feel annoyed when people behave badly. That's reasonable. You should feel sad when you lose something important. That's human. But there's a world of difference between disappointment and depression, between concern and anxiety, between annoyance and rage, between sadness and devastation. The first one in each pair is a healthy emotion that tells you something matters and motivates you to handle it. The second one is an unhealthy emotion that cripples you and makes everything worse. And the only difference between the two is whether you're using preferences or demands in your thinking. When you prefer something and don't get it, you feel disappointed. When you demand something and don't get it, you feel depressed. Same event, different thinking, completely different emotional life. Here's what's happening in your brain. When you think something must happen, your brain treats the opposite as a threat to your survival. This activates your fight or flight system over non-emergencies. You're literally having a physiological crisis, a full-blown stress response over everyday disappointments. Your body can't tell the difference between I didn't get promoted and a tiger is attacking me when you use the word must. So you're flooding your system with stress hormones. Your heart is racing, your thinking gets clouded, your stomach is in knots, all because you demanded that reality be different than it is. And then, after the must comes what I call awfulizing. This is where you take a bad situation and make it 1,000 times worse in your mind. You say things like, this is terrible, I can't stand it, it's the worst thing ever, my life is ruined. You take a 4 out of 10 problem and turn it into a 10 out of 10 catastrophe in your head. This is why you feel powerless. You've convinced yourself you're facing something unbearable when actually you're facing something you don't like. There's a huge difference. Think about a kid who wants ice cream. Kid A says, I'd really love ice cream, but if we don't get it, okay. Kid B says, I must have ice cream right now, or my life is ruined. Which kid has a better day? Which kid has any power over their emotional state? You're being Kid B about everything in your life. Every disappointment becomes a tantrum because you've turned preferences into absolute demands. So now you know the difference between preferences and demands. But here's where it gets really practical. How do you actually catch yourself making these demands? Because they're sneaky. Your brain has been running this program for so long, you don't even notice it anymore. That's what we're covering next, and this is where you start getting your power back. You think that what happens to you, let's call it A, causes how you feel, let's call that C. But there's a B in between. B is your belief about what happened, and B is where all your power lies. Let me break this down for you, because this is the key to everything. A is the activating event. It's what happens. My partner criticized me. I didn't get the job. Someone was rude to me. That's A. C is the consequence. It's how you feel and what you do. Depression, rage, anxiety, withdrawal. That's C. Most people think it causes C directly. Something happens and boom, you feel a certain way. But that's not how it works. There's always a B in the middle. B is your belief, your thought, your interpretation about what happened. And B is what actually creates C every single time. Here's the formula. A is the activating event. My partner criticized me. B is the belief. They must respect me. This criticism is awful. I can't stand being criticized. It means I'm not good enough. C is the consequence. You feel depressed, you withdraw, you can't function for days. And here's the proof that B creates C, not A. Same A, different B, totally different C. Watch this. Person 1 gets rejected for a job. That's A. Their B is I must be accepted. I'm worthless if I'm rejected. This is terrible. Their C is depression. They can't even look for another job. They feel like giving up. Person 2 gets rejected for the same job. Same A. But their B is I prefer to be accepted, but I'm okay either way. This rejection is disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. I can handle this and keep trying. Their C is disappointment. They feel bad for a bit. Then they move on and keep applying. Same event, same rejection, different belief, different emotional outcome. One person is destroyed. One person is fine. This proves that you are creating your suffering, not the event. Let me give you more examples because I want you to really get this. The critical boss. A is your boss criticizes your work. Irrational B is they must approve of me. This criticism means I'm incompetent. I can't stand being criticized. C is anxiety, shame. You can't focus for days. You avoid your boss. You think about quitting. Now same A. Rational B is I prefer approval, but criticism is just feedback. I can learn from it or disagree with it. My worth isn't determined by one person's opinion. C is concern. You evaluate the feedback. You respond appropriately. You move on. Or the unfair situation. A is someone cuts in line in front of you. Irrational B is people must be fair. This is terrible. I can't stand when people are rude. C is rage. Your blood pressure spikes. Your whole mood is ruined. You're angry for hours. Same A. Rational B is I prefer fairness, but people sometimes act poorly. This is annoying but not awful. I can handle minor inconveniences. C is annoyance. You feel irritated for a moment, then you forget about it and go on with your day. Do you see what's happening here? You can't always control A. You can't always control what happens to you. But you can control B. You can control what you think about what happens. And when you change B, you automatically change C. This means you have way more control than you ever realized. Your power isn't in controlling the world around you. Your power is in controlling how you think about the world around you. Let me tell you about two people who both lost their jobs on the same day. Same company, same layoff, same A. Person 1, their B is this must not happen. I need this job. My life is ruined. I can't handle this. They end up depressed for months. They can't even look for work. They feel completely defeated. Person 2, same layoff. Their B is this really sucks, and I'm disappointed, but I don't need this specific job. I'm capable, and I'll find another one. This is hard, but I can handle hard things. They start job hunting the next week. They find same A, different B, completely different life. That's the power of understanding this model. You stop being a victim of circumstances, and you start being the author of your own emotional experience. Now you might be sitting there thinking, okay, Ellis, I get it. My beliefs create my feelings. But these beliefs feel so true. When my boss criticizes me, it does feel awful. When someone treats me unfairly, they do deserve condemnation. How do I change beliefs that feel so solid and real? And that's exactly what we need to tackle next. How to dispute these beliefs that seem so obvious. This next part is the actual weapon you're going to use to dismantle every irrational thought that's been running your life. You've got to become a scientist with your own thoughts. Question them. Demand evidence. Don't just accept what your brain tells you is truth, because most of what your brain is telling you is garbage. It's unexamined assumptions, childhood programming, cultural nonsense, and pure emotional reasoning. So here's how you dispute. You ask 3 questions. Where's the evidence? Is this logical? Is this helpful? That's it. 3 questions that will destroy any irrational belief. Let's start with where's the evidence? Your brain says I must succeed at this, or I'm worthless. You ask, where's the evidence that I must succeed? Show me the law of the universe that says I'm guaranteed success. Show me the rule that says I have to get what I want when I want it. And the answer is there is no evidence. It's a made-up rule. You invented it. Reality doesn't care about your musts. Plenty of worthy people fail sometimes. Your worth isn't determined by outcomes. There's no cosmic law that says you must succeed. So the belief falls apart the moment you demand evidence for it. Or your brain says I need everyone's approval, or I'm not okay. You ask, where's the evidence that I need approval? Show me proof that I'll die or cease to exist without approval. And again, there's no evidence. You don't need it. You want it. You prefer it. But you don't need it. Big difference. Now the second question. Is this logical? Your brain says because I failed at this one thing, I'm a complete failure as a person. You ask, how does failing at one thing make me a total failure? Does one F on a test mean the entire test has failed? Does one mistake erase everything else I've ever done? It's not logical. It's overgeneralization. You're taking one data point and making it your entire identity. If you got 100 questions on a test and got one wrong, you wouldn't say the whole test is wrong. But you do that with yourself all the time. One failure, and suddenly you're a failure. That's not logic, that's irrationality. Or your brain says this person wronged me. Therefore, they're a completely bad person. You ask, does one bad action make someone entirely bad? Are you entirely bad when you make mistakes? It's not logical. People do good and bad things. One action doesn't define their entire being. The third question, is this helpful? Your brain says this situation is awful and I can't stand it. You ask, is thinking this way helping me handle the situation? Is it making me more effective or less? Is it solving the problem or creating more problems? And the answer is it's actively hurting you. You're creating additional suffering on top of the actual problem. Even if something is genuinely bad, calling it awful and unbearable makes it worse, not better. It paralyzes you. It clouds your thinking. It drains your energy. So it's not helpful. Let me give you a real example. I had a client who was absolutely terrified of public speaking. He'd tell himself, I must not mess up. If I stumble over my words, it will be awful and everyone will think I'm an idiot. So we disputed it. Where's the evidence you must be perfect? You've seen other speakers stumble. Did you think they were idiots? He realized he was holding himself to a standard he didn't hold anyone else to. There was no evidence he had to be perfect. Just that disputation cut his anxiety in half. Then we disputed the awful part. Is stumbling over words actually awful or just inconvenient? Awful means the worst thing that could possibly happen. Is that really true? Have you survived embarrassment before? He realized it wasn't awful. It was just uncomfortable. And he'd survived uncomfortable things his whole life. Finally, we asked, is this belief helping you? Is telling yourself you can't mess up making you a better speaker or a more anxious one? He saw that the belief was creating the very problem he was trying to avoid. It was making him so nervous he was more likely to stumble. That's the power of disputation. You could dispute any irrational belief using these 3 questions. Anyone, where's the evidence? Is it logical? Is it helpful? And when you actually examine your beliefs, most of them fall apart immediately. Let me walk you through some common disputes that will restore your power right now. The shame dispute, irrational belief. I must have everyone's approval or I'm worthless. Dispute, why must I? Where's that written in the laws of physics? Is it possible to be worthwhile even if some people don't like me? Don't I know people I consider worthwhile who aren't universally liked? And when you honestly answer those questions, you arrive at the rational belief. I prefer approval, but I don't need it. My worth isn't determined by others' opinions. I'm a fallible human being with inherent value regardless of who likes me. This single dispute can end decades of people-pleasing and insecurity. The fairness dispute. Irrational belief. Life must be fair. This shouldn't happen to me. Dispute. Why must life be fair? Where's the evidence that the universe guarantees fairness? Do I see fairness happening all the time? Or do I see that life is frequently unfair to everyone? Rational belief. I prefer fairness, but life doesn't operate on my preferences. Unfair things happen to everyone. I don't like it, but I can handle it without falling apart. This dispute ends victimhood. You stop wasting energy demanding that reality be different, and you start dealing with reality as it actually is. I can't stand a dispute. Irrational belief. This is unbearable. I can't stand this discomfort. Dispute. Am I actually unable to stand it? Or am I standing it right now as I say this? Have I stood similar things before and survived? What evidence do I have that I can't tolerate discomfort? Rational belief. This is uncomfortable and I don't like it, but I can stand it. I'm standing it right now. I have a history of standing difficult things. I'm stronger than I think. This dispute reveals your hidden strength. You've been telling yourself you're fragile when you're actually resilient. Here's what's powerful. You can dispute any irrational belief using these questions. Every single one. But there's one more piece to this puzzle. Because it's not enough to just dispute the garbage beliefs. You've got to replace them with something better. Something that actually works. And that's what I'm about to give you. After you dispute the irrational belief, you need a new effective belief to replace it. Not positive thinking fluff. Not just pretending everything is fine. Rational, evidence-based thinking that actually reflects reality. And here's the framework. You replace must with prefer. You replace need with want. You replace awful with unfortunate. You replace can't stand with don't like, but can handle. This isn't minimizing problems. It's accurately assessing them. Let me show you the 3 rational replacement beliefs that will change your life. For demands on yourself, the old irrational belief is I must succeed and be approved or I'm worthless. The new rational belief is I prefer to succeed and be approved, but my worth isn't dependent on it. I'm a fallible human being who sometimes succeeds and sometimes doesn't, and that's okay. I can accept myself unconditionally while still working to improve my behaviors. For demands on others, old belief. People must treat me kindly, considerately, and fairly, or else they're horrible. New belief. I prefer fair treatment, but people are imperfect and sometimes act poorly. I can handle unfairness without condemning the person or myself. I can set boundaries and protect myself without demanding that others be different than they are. For demands on life, old belief. Life must be comfortable and give me what I want quickly, or else it's terrible. New belief. I prefer comfort and success, but life is often difficult and unfair. I don't like it, but I can stand it and work with what I've got. I can handle challenges without catastrophizing them. Now, why does this actually restore your power? Because preferences allow you to feel disappointed without being devastated. You stay emotionally stable enough to actually solve problems instead of just having a breakdown. You're not wasting energy fighting with reality. You can acknowledge that a situation is bad without adding layers of self-created suffering on top of it. You become what I call anti-fragile. Difficulties don't break you anymore. You bend, but you don't snap. You feel appropriate emotions, you deal with what needs dealing with, and you move forward. Here's how you install this into your daily life. You catch yourself using must, need, awful, can't stand. The moment you notice those words in your thinking or your speech, that's your cue. Immediately dispute. Ask where's the evidence for this? Is it logical? Is it helping me? Then replace it with preference language. I prefer this, but I can handle if it doesn't happen. I want this, but I don't need it. This is unfortunate, but not awful. I don't like this, but I can stand it. And here's what's amazing. You'll feel the emotional shift in real time. You'll notice your anxiety dropping, your anger cooling, your sadness staying at disappointment instead of spiraling into depression. This becomes automatic with practice. Your brain learns the new pattern. Think of your old belief system as a rigid tree branch in a storm. When the wind blows, when life happens, the branch is so rigid it just breaks. Snap. Done. The new belief system is like bamboo. It bends with the wind, but it doesn't break. When something disappointing happens, bamboo says this isn't what I prefer, but I can handle it. I'll bend and then spring back. Rigidwood says this must not happen, and it snaps. Which do you want to be? Rigid and fragile, or flexible and resilient? The choice is yours, and it comes down to whether you use demands or preferences in your thinking. All right, so now you've got the whole system. You know how to spot irrational beliefs. You know how to dispute them with evidence, logic, and usefulness. You know how to replace them with rational beliefs based on preferences. But there's one thing that trips people up more than anything else. And if we don't address it, you're going to fall right back into the old patterns. Let me tell you what it is. The biggest power drain of all is trying to rate your worth as a human being. You can't do it. You can only rate your actions, not your essence. And yet you keep trying to give yourself a global rating, and it keeps destroying you. Here's the problem. You're trying to give one rating to a complex, ever-changing person. You've got thousands of traits, behaviors, thoughts, actions, and qualities. You do good things and bad things. You succeed sometimes and fail sometimes. You're kind sometimes and selfish sometimes. How are you supposed to average all of that into one rating of worthy or worthless? You can't. It's an impossible task. Yet you keep trying. You wake up and based on how your day goes, you decide if you're good or bad. If things go well, I'm worthy. If things go poorly, I'm garbage. You're on this emotional roller coaster because you're constantly judging your entire being based on temporary outcomes. And here's what I want you to do instead. Stop rating yourself globally. Just stop. Accept yourself as a fallible human being who does good and bad things. That's it. Rate your behaviors all you want. That was a helpful action. That was a mistake. That was kind. That was selfish. But never, I am good or I am bad. You just are. You're a living, breathing human with inherent worth just by virtue of being alive. This is what I call unconditional self-acceptance. You accept yourself, period. Not because you're perfect. Not because you always succeed. Not because everyone likes you. You accept yourself because you're a human being and you exist. That's enough. Now watch what happens to your power when you do this. When your worth depends on outcomes, every setback threatens your identity. So you become defensive. You can't accept criticism because criticism means you're bad. You avoid risks because failure would prove you're worthless. You need constant validation from others because their approval is the only thing propping up your shaky sense of worth. You're emotionally fragile because you're always one mistake away from being a bad person. But when you practice unconditional self-acceptance, everything changes. Criticism becomes information, not a threat. Someone says you messed up and you could say, yeah, I did. Let me fix it. No identity crisis. No defensive walls. Just acknowledgement and correction. Failure becomes feedback, not identity destruction. You try something and it doesn't work and you say, okay, that didn't work. What can I learn? What will I try next? No spiral into I'm a failure. Just I failed at this attempt and I'll try again. You can take risks because your worth isn't on the line. Win or lose, you're still you. Still a fallible human being doing your best. The outcome doesn't determine your value. You don't need others' approval to feel okay. It's nice when people like you. You prefer it, but you don't need it because your worth doesn't come from their opinions. It comes from the simple fact that you're alive. And you become emotionally resilient because nothing threatens your core anymore. Nothing can destroy you because you is not a rating. You is just a human being existing, acting, learning, growing. Bad things can happen to you. You could do bad things, but you can't be bad. You can only be. I don't rate myself. I'm not a good person or a bad person. I'm a person who does good and bad things. When I do something I'm proud of, great. I did a good thing. When I screw up, I did a bad thing. But me? I'm just a human being, neither good nor bad, just existing and acting. Once you get this, nobody can take your power away. They can disapprove of your actions all day long, but they can't touch who you are. Because who you are isn't up for rating. You're not a report card. You're a complex, ever-changing human being with inherent worth that nothing can diminish. So stop judging yourself. Start accepting yourself unconditionally and watch how much power that gives you back. Look, we've covered a lot here, and I want to make sure you walk away with something you can actually use starting today. So let me bring this all together for you. Here's what you now know that most people will never understand. Your power was never lost. You gave it away. You handed it over every time you said, I must have this, or life must be that way, or I can't stand when things go wrong. Every time you rated your entire worth based on one outcome. Every time you demanded that reality be different than it is. But now you know the truth. You know that your emotions don't come from what happens. They come from what you think about what happens. And you can change what you think. You know that demands create devastation, but preferences create resilience. That must leads to misery, but prefer leads to appropriate disappointment that you can handle. You know how to dispute the toxic beliefs your brain throws at you. Where's the evidence? Is it logical? Is it helpful? 3 questions that dismantle any irrational thought. And you know how to replace those beliefs with ones that actually work. Preferences instead of demands. Accurate assessment instead of catastrophizing. Flexibility instead of rigidity. Most importantly, you know that you don't need to rate yourself. You're a fallible human being with inherent worth, and nothing that happens can change that. You can rate your actions all day long, but you just are, and that's enough. So here's your challenge. Starting right now, catch yourself demanding. Catch yourself saying must, need, awful, can't stand. And when you catch it, dispute it. Ask for evidence. Check the logic. See if it's helping you or hurting you. Then replace it with a preference. I prefer this, but I can handle it if it doesn't happen. I want this, but I don't need it. This is unfortunate, but not awful. I don't like this, but I can stand it. Do this once today, then twice tomorrow. Pretty soon it becomes automatic, and you'll wonder how you ever lived any other way. You'll catch yourself about to spiral into devastation, and you'll think, wait, where's the evidence that this must go my way? And you'll feel the anxiety drain right out of you. You've got the system. You got the tools. You've got everything you need to take back your power. Now use them. Do the work. Question your thoughts. Replace your demands with preferences. Accept yourself unconditionally. Your power is restored. It always was yours. You just forgot. Don't forget again. Now, if you want to go even deeper into this, I've got another video you need to watch. It's about the one emotion that tricks you into thinking you're being rational when you're actually destroying yourself. Most people think this emotion protects them, but it's doing the opposite. It keeps you stuck. It drains your energy. It poisons your relationships. And once you see how it works, you'll never fall for it again. Click on the video on your screen right now. It's going to change how you see yourself and everyone around you. Go watch it. I'll see you there.